Good evening. Welcome back, everyone. This is an after hours edition. And if you haven't seen it before, we're glad you're here now. This is the time of the night where you might want to get a drink. Doesn't have to be stiff, but it might help. And yeah, I got my cousin Kenny here, and we're going to be getting into some stuff. So if you want to stick around for a theory or two, a conspiracy, have you? Or if you have one, put it in the chat. So first off, Kenny, how you doing? How was your turkey day?
Pretty good day. I didn't have any turkey, but it was a good day. How about you? What'd you and Tony and the kids do?
Well, once again, the invitation's always there, and I know it's hard for you to come around sometimes, but
yeah, high profile holiday like this and all. A lot of police on the road.
There's definitely a lot of travelers, and if you don't want to be out and about, or if you have a problem being out and about, you definitely want to, keep your distance and stay low profile. But I ended up deep frying two turkeys, two decent sized turkeys at my house. And Kevin, my little brother, Kevin, he came by with two smoked turkeys from his Traeger. We had my parents down, and a bunch of people. It was a lot of fun. Watched the Niner game at the end, and just really grateful day. Real quickly, let's shout out the chat real quick. We got David McNiner.
You doing, David?
Tinfoil hat time. Let's go. Yes, we will be getting our tinfoil hats on here in a second. We got Mr. Damian Lee. George Kittle as my guest for the unhidden weapon. I think Kittle is definitely known as a weapon. Pterodome, what's up, fellas? All right, then we got Little Sponge. Sponge has changed his name, though. He's now Philly Special Cards. And then, love it, Green Law, that like button. All right, so by the way, David McNiner, that Saints fan, blocked me. Okay, well, that's a problem, but that's okay. He'll probably unblock you after you give him a little bit of time. A good guy. Little Sponge, that's funny. And we got Crazy Juice here. Damian Lee, sorry. Crazy Juice. And then Damian Lee, what's good, buddy? And we got Tony. Hey, Tony. I think we know Tony. So all seven people.
Hey, Tony.
We appreciate you. We really do. So tell me a little bit more about your dinner and what. Now, I know you had something. If it wasn't ham and it wasn't turkey, was it Spam?
No, it was actually ham and turkey just on a piece of bread, but, on a large piece of bread. And I made some homemade soup and I dipped it in there. Holidays and me, I don't really do much on the holidays. Not really a special day for me.
Well, it changed. It definitely changed for the folks that don't know. Kenny used to come around a whole lot, and he still comes around every once in a while, but he's one of those guys that you don't know who creeped up on your front porch. Not like in a bad way or anything like that, but you hear the wind outside your house and you look and there he is. And it's just, that's Kenny. So something happened a long time ago when we were younger. And, if you've ever seen lights in the sky, Kenny's seen more than the lights. Kenny's seen more than the lights. And we're not going to go into too much because it's a personal issue and we don't want.
Not tonight.
We're not going to go into that, but maybe one day here soon. So, Kenny, we got a lot of great games, but let me get your thoughts on the Niners and the Seahawks game. It's been 2014 to 2023. It's been 9 years since the Niners have been able to, exact revenge on the Seahawks. So they finally got to beat Turkey on the opposing field. Were you able to get a look at any of the game? I know sometimes you go under cover.
No, I always make time to watch the game. Since I was a little boy, I always made time, and it brings me a lot of joy, and it calms me down, win or lose. So I always make time, and it was a great game. And the whole team worked just great together, finally. Rested, uninjured, coaches all on the field, high-fiving each other, hugging each other in the moment. So I like that everyone's on the field and I think now that we have a competent quarterback, I don't really fear the Seahawks. So yes, that game the other day, I kind of was just the most relaxed I've been in years. Even tell you what, after the pick six, I was just like, I went and I just got something to eat and I came back and sat down. I didn't make a peep. Normally I just scream, yell, and throw something. But I knew the way the team has been, I had no fear. I had no fear. I don't think the Seahawks are in the same league. They might be in our division, but they're not in our league. So
Something happened to them recently. They've definitely taken a step back. Their field goal kicker has missed a couple of kicks that were really costly. And you look at them in this game, if it wasn't for that pick, that touchdown, it would have only been special teams that scored or did anything for them. And that's another really alarming thing that I'd like to get your thoughts on is
Good
what's
point.
going on with the Niners special teams. Punt return and kick return has been very they've been afraid to tackle, or they're just not quick to get into the right spots. The coverage is wrong. What do you think, Kenny?
Well, who did we just lose? We lost Odom, right, for the year.
Yeah,
He's supposed to be great at special teams. I know he's only one person, but our special teams, it's I would never call great as far as defending a kick. Now we can put coffin corner all day. We can bury that ball inside the 10 or the 20 very easily. That part of the special teams is great. But the Odom part, and I guess he's part of both, I assume, but the part where you go down and tackle people, not been our strong point, and certainly not against Seattle. I feel like every time we play them, that's what gives them a little boost every time. Hightower got fired for that, and to be honest, I mean, to put all those returns that we've defended poorly on that one man was probably a mistake. And then didn't he make us pay for it? He was on another team and we played them, and I think we lost, or he got some good special teams done on us or something like that. Man, there's so many games. Do you remember that?
Oh, I do. I remember we end up leaving players and you letting them go somewhere, and then the next thing you know, they have the last laugh. It doesn't always happen, but it's happened. I was
because
afraid
everybody makes mistakes, right? But I mean, if you keep someone for a long time, you'll see that they're probably better more than they're bad. It's just that you lose patience and you have to move on. And sadly, because a lot of the times the fans are so mad, but like Philly, do they really have to move on from Andy Reid? He could have been there the whole time. They would have won a Super Bowl with him. It's just hard to win a Super Bowl.
That's very interesting because look at what the Eagles did. The Eagles went to the NFC Championship, 5 times? They made it to the Super Bowl. They lost the Super Bowl. So it wasn't that they couldn't.
This is with Cunningham and Reggie White and all. You're talking about the old Reid, or you're talking about the new Philadelphia?
With Ed Reed, right? He had Donovan McNabb, and Donovan McNabb went to the championship, I believe, 4 or 5 times in a row.
Great defense, great offense, great quarterback. You know what? They never had a great running back, though.
They had.
Can anyone out there name a great Eagle running back while Reed was there? I mean, I know they had somebody when Deshaun Jackson was the wide receiver. They also had somebody who was a pretty good running back / receiving running back who was a beast. I forgot his name.
They have what was the guy that went to the Bill? Shady McCoy.
McCoy.
It was pretty good.
He was really good. Was he gone then?
Yeah. Oh boy, I can't. I think Little Sponge would know, and he threw it out there. Shady McCoy as well.
The only Eagles running back, and if I may not even be a running back, but the only one I can remember is Keith Byers. Is that a running back for the Eagles? Keith Byers. I'm gonna have to.
Oh, Bebop nailed it. Thank you, Bebop. Brian Westbrook.
Ah, that's him, and he was amazing. And that was with Cunningham, wasn't it?
That would have been with McNabb.
Oh yeah, McNabb.
Yeah, Cunningham.
Yeah, that was a solid team.
Cunningham would have had Charlie Garner.
There you go.
Yep.
So,
Charlie
that
Garner.
just shows, you have a great coach. And that's one of the greatest quarterbacks, in my opinion, ever, Randall Cunningham. And Donovan was also a great, I'm going to hold back on the Donovan, but a very, 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 very good quarterback with weapons and a D. I don't know. Should have happened. Who beat them? What, did they lose to Tampa that year, or did they beat Tampa in 2000, 2001, and then lose the next round? What happened? Do you remember that?
In 2002, I believe
We got
was.
somebody, an Eagle fan out there, they'll know.
I think in 2002 they lost to the Bucks. Went to the Super Bowl, of course. We
At
played
home,
them.
right?
We
Weren't they at
played.
home and lost in the playoffs?
Oh, I think so. I know we played them. The 49ers played them after we beat the Giants that year. And then we lost to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay went on to play another team. I believe that was the Eagles. And then they went on to go to the Super Bowl against the Raiders. And we remember how the Raiders, oh my God, that was a horrible Super Bowl for the Raiders. Horrible. Jerry Rice did not deserve that. Rich Gannon did not deserve that. That's another thing to talk about. Maybe it's time to put our tinfoil hats on, or we can wait for a minute. But what happened to the Raiders for them to go to the Super Bowl against their old head coach, their offensive coordinator become the head coach, in spite of the team, for whatever weird, vendetta he had, decides to change the playbook days before hours before the game. Their center goes into a panic attack, basically breaks down, goes crazy, comes back, is not prepared for the game at all. Or did he miss the entire game? And it was just horrible. The Raiders were a passing team, a running team that was switched to passing switched to, it was totally opposite. And for the way they came out, it was not right. And then for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to know the cadence, to know the calls, to know, everything. And for so many interceptions in that game. I mean, like, sure, John Lynch, he got a Super Bowl and he's our, general manager. That you can't hate people for being on team and having success, but just wasn't right. It just did that. Just
you think football was already rigged then? Is that what you're getting at?
I think it was, and I think that's a really good question.
Well, football can't be boring because there's too much money behind it. So, I mean, wrestling knew this from the beginning, right? And you ever see when they're like, what happens on a big call that changes a huge play? They say that the ref didn't see it, right? How long has wrestling referees been saying that? I didn't see it. I didn't see what happened. And the whole thing is like a movie.
Shout out to Terradome. Thank you, Terradome. He said the center did miss. He missed the game. And
to be fair, if I was near Mexico and I could get high, I'd probably choose that too.
I tell you what, it definitely doesn't seem right. There's been some calls and there's been some things, questioning. Sports has always been about gambling in a sense.
Money.
And it's about money, but let them play the game. Let them play the game. Let it be completely fair, and then bet on that. Don't bet on somebody controlling the game or deciding it because they wanted to make some extra loot. That's where
when was the Black Sox, Brian? You remember the Black Sox? What year was that? 1920s? They were already cheating in sports. You telling me that now they're definitely not? I mean, I don't think I'm the first person to ever say this, but I was out in Maryland working out there when Brady became the quarterback all of a sudden. Now, I'm not saying the injury was fake. That was real. But the Patriots coming out of nowhere and winning the Super Bowl like that after what happened in New York seemed to me like I'm watching a movie with Kurt Russell and Steven Seagal on an airplane trying to save the president or something. That's where it went to. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? Weren't there teams that were just way, more likely to win that year? Do you remember the teams?
I think it's a great way. We got a lot of people here in the chat. We're going to take a pause and we're going to come right back. Everybody stick with us for the next 30 seconds as we transition to our next segment.
There it is. There it is.
If you have an opportunity,
My whole bunker,
and you still
my
have
whole
some,
bunker is lined in foil, Brian. And I ran out when I got to the hat part.
so and that's why I'm trying to say it. Lily, she was graceful enough. She saved me a little bit of aluminum foil from Turkey. Everybody needs enough foil for their pumpkin pie and all that good stuff. So I did ask. I said, hey, make sure you get, because you have to have fresh aluminum foil. If folks don't know, these things do. They have a they expire, and you can only use them so much. They do have like a what would you say, a battery life. But when we are talking conspiracies, and if you don't, if you feel more comfortable, just put on a tinfoil hat. And it's really easy to make. Maybe the next episode we can show everybody how to fold them and stuff. But yes, this is the time in the show. We got the dark glasses on. We're talking conspiracies.
And also, I just want to remind everyone, I also have a plate in my head, so that also blocks all the lasers and what have yous. Snoops. The Snoops.
It's real. It's real. So let's get into this. So the Browns, Vikings, and Bengals. Oh my, right? You thought I was going to say Lions and Tigers, but I didn't. I held back. They've all beat the 49ers. But you know what? They've suffered not necessarily to or from the Niners, but after. You know what they've lost? They've lost their quarterback.
Lost the captain, huh? They felt the after wrath.
So what do you do? What do you do now? Now you've lost your captain. You beat probably one of the best teams in the NFL, but where do you go from there? Now you don't have what would you say the quarterback's worth, the percentage of the quarterback is worth to the team? Is he 65% of the team? 70% of the team? You know, you put your quarterback out there and then you put all your other players around it, right?
Yep.
Boy. Okay, so
remember we talked about Cousins last week, and I said that he just was really unhappy, and I think he was ready for his vacation and called it. I think he called it. Fake ACL, right? Pretend. Jefferson gone. Cook, right? Who was his running back they took? He's gone. What's he supposed to do? I think he lost interest. What are they doing for Kirk Cousins in Minnesota? Do they want him? I mean, it doesn't seem to me like they want him back or they want him to stay or they're making it comfortable for him to be there.
It would appear that they would be happy to move on with Dobbs, and Dobbs
really going to jump on that train that fast? Are we sold on Dobbs because of a few games? Anything goes in football. And we made a big deal about how Brock Purdy needed to win 12, 13 games in a row before he got respect. But everyone is set on the Dobbs. He's good. Is that what we're saying? I want to hear everyone say it then.
I think everybody likes the price.
Oh, well, I do like something cheap. I'll give you that.
I think the price is right. I think it's right.
All right. Well, I know the man has alopecia, and I do too, so I want to call that out. Respect. I'm a fellow alopecia person. I got things like that going on, so much respect and alopecia awareness, everyone. That's why I grow the mustache out. It's the only place it really comes through. And you gotta cherish those few hairs. All right, let's talk football.
All right, all right. This is probably the I'm gonna give you the hardest one for the night. It's that time. We got plenty of people here. Uh, it wasn't too many years ago. We had a nasty virus going around. There's been multiple people that said this or that. You know, it's fake. It came from monkeys, or this or that, or it was created in a laboratory. It could all be true, but we're talking about COVID-19, and my question to you, Kenny, is: do you believe that the government knew about COVID-19 before 2020, before it exploded? Do you believe that the government knew about it, and that was the year that the Niners went to the Super Bowl against Kansas City? Do you think that the Niners, the NFL, Kansas City decided to take a business decision for the sake of humanity, a healthcare decision, and say, let's move the victor and potentially give it to Kansas City here? Because if there is a winner for the San Francisco 49er fans, they are going to have a humongous parade. So by doing this, again, we have our tinfoil hats on, everybody. We could be
I'm
crazy.
ready for this one. I'm ready for this one.
But do you agree that by the government and maybe the NFL all playing a role in this and saying move the NFL winner to Kansas City, it saved lives?
Well, I would say that what happened during coronavirus, right? You had a certain group of people, I won't say what, who didn't believe it was a thing, right? And then you had the whole other half of people who thought it was a huge freaking thing, right? So you had two sides all the way on the other side of each other, totally disagreeing. And somehow it's always half, which makes it that more difficult. And I think that they saw an opportunity. No one's going to go to football games on the East Coast. Let's put those games in the Midwest. We want the Super Bowl in the Midwest. Green Bay, Kansas City, State Farm Bowl. Right in the middle there, where everyone's going to school and working and saying the virus don't make a difference. I think that's a pretty big coincidence, if that's what you're getting at, that is.
It just makes, to me, even though the virus wasn't completely out at that moment, if we're saying that the government knew about this, and we're saying that the government cares about saving lives here, which we would all of us should believe the government cares about us as humans, right? And individuals.
Well, somebody has to work, right?
Well, see, there it goes. It's not just about taxes. It's not, it can't be, right? Because
we keep the plumbing on, right? We fix the roofs, we dig out the ditches, and we still got to eat and have enough money. So they need us.
So if you look at it and you think about it, they knew this was coming because they knew it was coming before the Super Bowl. They knew it was coming in 2019. It just hadn't exploded yet. People were sick in December. Some people were just sick in November, but it hadn't completely made it. So if you look again at the coast and the way the country is, if you put the Super Bowl in the middle of the country where a lot of people just don't necessarily believe in this, and they believe, just stay away from people, don't get close in people's face, and keep your distance. And then honestly, can anybody in the chat, can anybody dispute this, please? If you're here and you're listening, how many Kansas City fans were there truly before they won the Super Bowl? Right? I mean, you ask people, 10 years ago.
You'd have to be born in 1945 to be a Kansas City Chiefs fan, right? I mean, I liked a few players here and there on the Chiefs, but there's nobody that, like, can you think of a Chief that ever blew your mind? I remember Christian Okoye.
If you ask a couple people, just 10 years ago, a handful of Chiefs fans, if they knew Joe Montana was on this team, first off, they wouldn't know who Joe Montana was because they're a Kansas City Chief fan, right? And then they
Right.
wouldn't know who was on their team. So, I mean,
I guess they got some fans during the Alex Smith days in that time, right? Maybe a few.
maybe a few. Yeah, Alex Smith was a good guy. And you know, that's the whole thing is just like that's the one thing about the 49ers is we've been this farm for the Kansas City Chiefs. Our quarterbacks go to Kansas City to, we could say, retire, right? So
Yeah.
it's definitely oh, wow. You know,
Yeah, I
they've had
remember Derek Thomas, and I remember I think it was Duron Cherry and Christian Okoye and those guys. That was a solid group. That was a long time ago, right?
Pierce Holmes. You remember Pierce Holmes, number 31? He got the touchdown record there for a little while. I mean, they've had a lot of good players, but they didn't
I'm
have
surprised Kansas City kept that team together and it didn't move, to be honest with you.
Now, if Kansas City,
Yeah, Priest Holmes. I see in the chat, Mr. Terradome saying Priest Holmes, another stud.
do you know Kansas City is a team that had moved? They were originally in Texas.
Oh,
They
really? Early on, before they won their before it became the NFL?
Yes, they were originally the Dallas Texans.
Wow.
And they moved to Kansas City, where it was just silly that they had the state of Texas still on their helmet. So that was removed. They named their team the Chiefs after the mayor of the town, who was called Big Chief. And then they changed their name to the Chiefs. And you can see the Indian and the similarities and everything. But no, they were the original Houston. They were not Houston, Dallas Texans. So that's something funny. AFL, the American Football League, and the Dallas Cowboys weren't a football team until 1960. So yeah, yep, they definitely.
And somehow by 1970 something, they were America's team.
Yes,
that sounds like a lot of money put into marketing there.
Oh boy.
That was just a product that was sold, right? Wasn't it right from the beginning?
Oh boy, they were a bad team to start out with for a long time, and then they started getting some wins. Then once they started stacking wins, that was it. From the 70s, they were just there. But okay, so if we can agree or disagree, I think we're both in the sense and the belief that the NFL decided to move the Super Bowl victor to Kansas City to save lives. And as being a 49er fan, I can accept that.
And because they could fill that stadium there. People weren't going to, the Giants games, they couldn't fill that stadium.
It was really hard to fill some of those stadiums back in the day.
Well, no, I just mean while the virus was going on. They were just, I'll call them blue states, which is fine. They matter just as much as red states. And they had a policy, so they just weren't going out. It just wasn't going to happen. And you know how much money you make at the stadium. I mean, the TV money's nice, but you want people coming out, the parking, the food, the tickets, all that stuff, all the toys they sell and stuff. It's huge. And don't think that they don't miss just a little bit of that money, and someone out there is like, where'd this money go? And they're like, well, we didn't sell 3 hats. And they're like, we'll fire somebody because those 3 hats somebody got to pay for. That's how they do things.
Well, that makes so much sense. It really does, because you got to go to the gas station to get gas. Then you got to drive to the stadium. Hopefully, before you go there, you've checked your tires. Oh, you didn't need new tires before you went to the game. Okay, great. But you got tires, or you checked your car. Oh, you checked your oil. All this good stuff, right? You might need an oil change before you go to the stadium. Now you finally went to the stadium, right? Oh, did you get food before you went there? Oh, are you going to eat at the stadium? Did you get anything to drink?
Both,
probably. So now all of this stuff, did you stop at the gas station? Did you stop at the grocery store? Did you remember to get ice? Did you get the styrofoam ice container cooler? Did you stop at Target and get you a brand new igloo? So with all this, it's all money. And this is a normal weekend for most people in America who you got to, admit, like most things in America now are throwaways. You go get a cooler. You're like, oh, it's only $20, $25. Oh, we left it at the game. It's okay. It was full of ice water. I didn't want to put it back in the car. And that's lazy. That's being very spoiled. That's being like, but again, things now are so cheap and easy for people to get, they'll rather spend the money again to go and replace it instead of, maybe taking the moment and dumping out the water, or taking the moment and, again, it's like, it's all about time. People don't have the time to spend there and waste. So again, I
We
think
got too much stuff.
Oh man, people got too much stuff for sure. So what do you think? Did America make the right call, Kenny?
On what exactly?
Saving lives, moving the Super Bowl victor to Kansas City. Did they have a hand in this at
I
all?
just think that the only people that were really going to get sick were already sick or older. I think they made a big deal out of it. But yeah, I think it's very possible that that decision was made, since in the Midwest, the teams weren't really, the towns weren't really freaking out and forcing people to stay in. Like some places, they had curfews, remember?
It was
So
almost
you can't control politics in a state, but you can control where your teams play in a league that is run and owned by the richest people, walking around on in America. So very easy to do, man. It's not wild or out there theory at all. It's just to make sure everyone gets their return on investment. So
talking about one Super Bowl conspiracy, we have to talk about the one before it where the lights went out. I'm glad everybody's here and they're listening. Please hit the like button, subscribe, share, tell your friends. We're going to do this as often as possible when Kenny has the opportunity to get in. Again, if we do this and we go onto a regular schedule, we're going to have to do a little bit more, maybe aluminum foil, where we don't, again, Kenny doesn't want, anyways, share this as much as you want. Maybe don't tell him Kenny's here. We don't want the government finding it. But anyways, we're going to continue to go on with our moment. We're going to talk about the Ravens and how the Ravens went out. The lights went out, and the game kind of went back into our favor, right? So isn't it a little bit weird? We were involved in two things that kind of shaped the direction of the NFL's league, in not necessarily a bad direction, but would you say the Ravens, their first Super Bowl, they won their first Super Bowl with defense. Their second Super Bowl, they won their Super Bowl with a deer antler and steroids. Ray Lewis, he had his steroid moment. He shouldn't have played. He had a torn bicep, whatnot. He comes in, he gets to play. Fine, let him play. We played well enough, but there was an opportunity to win the game. They try Michael Crabtree 4 times in the end zone, which I feel is just a little weird when you have an opportunity to run maybe 2 or 3 different plays. When you have 4 tries, and you run the same play, just to me, it seems a little bit weird. So go ahead and give the Ravens their Super Bowl. The Niners hadn't won a Super Bowl in like 25 years or 20 something years at that point. So it's okay, right? The Niners had won 5 Super Bowls. Right, it's not okay to lose a Super Bowl, but the fans we didn't appreciate it, but it is what it is, right? So deep diving and talking to some friends this morning, found this little clip and I want to show you. I kind of put it together, and I had great friends who helped me think of this and come together with it. So it's not completely my thoughts, but again, I'm wearing the tinfoil hat, so hopefully they're not reading my thoughts, because again, not everything should be read out loud. Or again, let me put this out there so the public can see it. And shout out to Ravens, Darwin Levi, and shout out to Teardown for helping me, and Mr. McNiner. Here it is, folks. I'm only going to show it a couple times. I might have to show it once or twice before the end of the show. So here we go.
Marketing.
Did you see it? Did you see it? Did it go too quick? Anybody in the chat?
You might have to play it again.
Okay, I'm going to play it again. And I want you guys to look at the colors on the logo, the last Super Bowl matchups, and tell me what that last logo looks like. And are we crazy? You can tell me I'm crazy. Here goes.
Is there another red NFC team? The Cardinals? They're white, right?
So
Their
it could have
helmet's
been
white.
it could be the Chiefs. It could be
Well,
the
it can't be
Chiefs and the
Chiefs and
Vikings.
Ravens. Oh,
No, but it could be the Chiefs and Vikings.
Chiefs and Vikings, but
The
it doesn't.
purple one.
It doesn't seem likely.
That would be a Super Bowl rematch from back in the day, if I remember correctly.
But those colors that you're saying they came out before the final game,
This is
pretty
this is
amazing. But then again, I mean, they make the schedule, they pay the refs, they tend to the field, they have access to all the equipment. They can watergate that place every day. Little
I'm starting to feel a
flashlight.
lot more better about making it to the Super Bowl after seeing that. I tell you what, if you're a betting man, today is the day to go place your bet. It's only going to go up and up and up. And
That's true. Hey, and you got kids, right? They got to go
yeah,
to
but
college.
I can't. I'm not a betting man. You know me.
How about 25 bucks?
Yeah.
25 bucks for the kids' college fund.
Start a GoFundMe account. That'd be better for me. But but you know me, I'm not very good with money when it comes to betting and stuff like that. It's to me, it's almost like throwing money away. Some people have better luck at it than others, and they say I'm lucky. I know my wife's definitely lucky, but I will, she's got me. Why would she be lucky, right? But
You're gonna have to Cope crowd fund.
oh boy. So what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts? What's the next step for Purdy?
Well, he's doing a great job, isn't he? He's exceeded expectations. He's making everyone kind of question, really, do we have to spend a lot on a first round pick to find talent? Or is it all just random? And I think that's why the Niners have been, and they know this because they're smart, and statistics are really hard to kind of figure out, if that makes sense. If you're good at statistics, you know what I mean. Even knowing what you know about statistics, it's hard to predict what's going to happen anyway, because there's no predicting what's going to happen. It's so random. But there are formulas to predict what's going to happen with statistics if you're smart enough to know how to use those formulas. I am not. But I just think that stats are fun and they're something to talk about. They're a huge part of sports. Again, this is another thing. What would we watch all week if we weren't talking about stats? What could we really talk about? Well, I think they're going to win because they have Davante Adams. Well, that's a good guess. Well, what do you think, boss? And it's like, well, I think they're going to win because it's going to be dark out. And I mean, your guess is as good as that guy's because neither one makes any difference. It's just going to be what it is that day. So really, stats is kind of like a backbone of sports, and and everyone who gets paid talking about it, right? You kind of need them.
So are you trying to say that stats matter? When I've heard all season that stats don't matter, stats.
Well, a mathematician will argue that they matter, but in the grand scheme, what we see is that this is what we do, right? We take the 30% and make it the 70%, right? Because we're focusing on the 30%, always talking about the 30%. And you're like, yeah, well, Brock Purdy threw a pick six, but he threw, I'm just saying, hypothetically, also threw 4 touchdowns. But the negative people are going to concentrate on the pick, and the positive people are going to concentrate on this. They both matter, but they don't matter. Does that make sense?
At the end of the day, the W matters. It doesn't matter how you get it, but you do want a quarterback to be proficient. But when they do have a blemish here or there, you do want to make sure that they have the confidence to be able to back it, and come back from it. And let's
put it this way, Brian. May I put it this way to interrupt you just quickly? if you had a doctor, you had a choice of 3 doctors, right? And one had successfully performed a surgery 95% of the time, and the other 2 were in the 80s, who would you want?
Well, it depends on my insurance provider, and what I'm going to have to.
Of course, of course. There you go. There you go. Exactly. But right, what would you want? Of course, your insurance provider is going to pick the guy who's at 74%, but there's a guy who's at 98%. Now, that doesn't mean that he won't screw up your surgery. Sorry. Sorry, you could be the 2%. That's just the way it is. And no one knows who's going to be the 2%. We're all ants walking around, and nobody knows when they're going to get stepped on. That's all it is. They're really no different. We can go out to the Eagles, and we can spank them. And then we play them in the playoffs and lose. And then who cares how bad we beat them? So this game with the Eagles coming up, I don't care if we win. I don't care. I don't think we're going to get the first round seed anyway. But I do care about us beating them in the playoffs. And now people are going to say, but if we beat them now, it'll be easier. Maybe it will. But again, don't care about this game. I'd rather just learn from this game. And maybe they don't learn too much about us. I don't know how that's possible, but this is just one part of the battle. This is one battle. This is not the war. We're going to see them again. So I don't know if I'd rather be the team that lost so that next time we face them, they're scrubs. Remember? They were all this, that, and the other, and we killed them. And then when we play them in the playoffs, then we beat them. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? And do you think we're going to beat them twice this year? You really think we will?
Well, sometimes you have to look at history, and not everything can you say history is, and it's going to repeat itself again, right? So you look at the Rams and how many times we played the Rams, we beat the Rams, and then when it came down to beating them when it counted, we lost, right? So then you look at the Eagles game, and we have beat the Eagles before in Philadelphia, but it wasn't a big championship game. The championship game, we lost our quarterback. It could have been a totally different game. So we lose this game. We act like it's our Super Bowl, and then we lose our game in the playoffs when they come out to see us. It could totally happen. But I would love to see how the Buffalo is going to play against them, because I believe it's Buffalo who's playing this week against them. And then I want to see after that.
That's a good defense.
Good defense. They're good. They can intercept. And Jalen, their quarterback, the Eagles quarterback, does turn the ball over. So if that's anything, we can maybe take from what the Bills maybe possibly do, and then maybe we can do it ourselves, is get some interceptions. And because the tush push right now is undefeated. You can say they're 18 for 19 or 17 for 18. That you get, they got stopped one time.
But you know what? You can't tush push on a 3rd and 6. Okay.
No, but you can tush push on a 3rd and 6 and get a 4th and 4. And then fake it, and then get a first down. I mean, what I'm saying. You can
absolutely, because if you do a tush push 20 times in a row on the 21st, no one's going to know you're passing. Right? That's the good thing about stats. Like baseball, you see it more. It's almost clearer in baseball because there's so much more stats. There's so many more at bats. It makes more sense. And it does make, that's the thing with stats, right? The longer it goes on, the more likely it is to make sense and balance out and work out. The thing is, you age the more you play. So it just doesn't work like that. We're not robots. If we were robots, we'd hit a plateau. We'd know our work production rate or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? And we'd have that. But with humans, we get hurt. We get old. So we can't maintain a steady, it's up and down. It's like, athletes, every year they're not amazing. There are some players who every year were really good, but most players, especially in baseball, like I'm saying, since there's so much, so many at-bats, so many games, you see people bat like 250 because it's hard as heck. And 250 is considered decent, really. So that just goes to show that hitting a baseball is super hard. It's a different analogy. But my point is, with stats, we don't get to see as many in football. So they're inflated, really inflated, because they're such a short, even for 17 games, it's a short, amount of time to judge anything. And in that time, people were hurt. It was raining. it was freezing, it was 4 days rest, or it was 14 day or 10 days rest, and it was too much rest, and you got rusty. It's just so unpredictable, and that's why going back, gambling has to be a thing, and fixing games. There's no way some bookie's going to pay out a ridiculous amount of money to people on some fluke. It's just unlikely, you know?
Well, it does seem to be really weird, really, really weird when games are lopsided and then go the completely opposite way. And we've seen it a couple times, but it's not very likely. It's not. And speaking of like Super Bowls, we just seen it kind of with the Eagles where they played the Chiefs. The Chiefs were a very good opponent for that game. It wasn't a one-sided game either way. But the tush push again, that kept the Eagles alive. And here you go. So now you got the Eagles, and they've just had a emotional win. Now they go and play Buffalo, who needs a win dramatically to stay in the playoffs. So can you see again conspiracy theory time? They lose a game, then they play us. We're tied for first place in the division. Then oh boy, and then what? Then they go and play Dallas after that, and Dallas is like right there on their heels. I believe Dallas is 8-3 if I'm correct. And you look at that and what's going on right there. The Cowboys, they want to beat us. They cannot get us out of their head. So
well, Dallas, I just saw somewhere they haven't beaten any good teams. What do you think about that? Is there any truth to that?
They have not beaten any good teams. If you at least look, if stats,
and they've been spanked
right?
A few times, right?
If stats matter, and we're going off the wins and losses of the teams that they've played, they haven't beaten any team above 500.
That's what I thought. That's a rumor.
And when they do play these other teams that are under 500, yes, they are beating the snot out of these teams. They played us. We beat the snot out of them. They played the Eagles, and them, it was like 23 to, it was a very close game. The Cowboys almost beat the Eagles, but again, it was a lot closer of a game. So when you play a good team, you're not putting up 50 points.
Yeah. Well, also about the Eagles, I mean, they didn't play the Kansas City Chiefs that we know. They played a shell of a team. Now, they can win games, and they still have what is considered to be the best quarterback and a great coach, but that team is not the team that won Super Bowl.
Are you saying that because they don't have I'm sorry, Tyreek Hill?
You mean the guy that makes Tua look like he deserves an MVP? That's the guy?
Are you trying to say if you take Tyreek off the Dolphins aren't going to the playoffs? Is that
no, I'm sure they'd still be incredible at beating teams under 500.
Again, under 500. So now if
another team, they're the NFC's Miami, is what you have.
Yeah, if you didn't know, we have the Miami 49ers, we have the New York 49ers, and now we have the Texans 49ers, the Houston 49ers. It's going everywhere. And it's soon the Tennessee Titans, they will be the Tennessee 49ers. It's happening as well.
It's just going to be teams coached by Kyle Shanahan's tree. And they're just going to take over all 32 teams and play their own John Madden fantasy draft every year.
No, that'd be too funny. Too funny. But that if you look at it, if they don't win, then they're not getting in. Buffalo is right behind them, and the Dolphins only competition really is Buffalo. The Jets, they're not getting Aaron Rodgers back. If they would have started winning a couple games ago, but the Jets aren't sorry either. If you looked at the Black Friday game yesterday, the Jets were getting defensive turnovers. They don't have a quarterback.
I watched their D, and it was pretty impressive. It was all on that offense. It was terrible. It was like having Josh Johnson in there. That's that's what that was like yesterday with Boyle. Boyle? Why don't you just stick with Wilson at this point? Boyle that's a disaster. The Jets fans must be, come on. I don't care how much. I'm sure the Jets fans hate Zach Wilson, but Tim Boyle was not going to make anybody there happy. On national television, on Thanksgiving, they sent out Tim Boyle. The man's name is almost offensive. Boyle. Nobody likes a boil. It's an ugly word. Everyone knew it was going to happen. What was that? It's a mess. I guess because everyone was eating at that time anyway, right? That was the middle game. Yeah. See that? That's why. Rigged. Fake football.
If you look at it right now, the way the Jets are, they just need a quarterback. They had Aaron Rodgers. Well, he got hurt. And before Kirk Cousins had his game against the 49ers, that would have been a nice landing spot for him. Go to the Jets, go play a year up there, and see what happens with Aaron Rodgers coming back. But it's all about
the
that money.
Jets.
It's all about that money.
Since 1968, the Jets have been a disaster. I mean, even the few years they were okay, it was just it's like a cursed thing. It's terrible. And when Rodgers went there, I was like, well, that's great, but it's not going to make any difference. And everyone was like, you're crazy. He's like top 3 quarterback in the world ever, right? Sure. Okay. This is New York Jets. Okay, Aaron, New York Jets, Aaron, career over. Have a seat. Before the injury, over. It was not going to happen.
Brett Favre
even with that defense, and Garrett Wilson, is it getting the Rookie of the Year? Should have gone to Brock anyway. Went to him. I don't care if you throw 2 more wide receivers on there, give them 2 good tight ends. Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. The O-line is good. It's the New York Jets. Let me introduce you again. America, New York Jets. Not going anywhere. Not next year either. Not next year either, or the year after that, or the year after that. And this is on camera and being recorded, so you can come back. You can let me have it if they ever win.
No, they say the Jets are really, truly cursed. They say it was because of the Super Bowl victory that they, guaranteed. That Super Bowl was rigged, and since then they've had karma.
Is it, or is it because it's North Jersey and it's run by the mafia? Is that so hard to believe?
Well, it's definitely a possibility there. It definitely
I think so. Especially in a state that's had a casino since the 20s. Or probably before that.
So the Jets used to be the New York Titans. And it's really funny. The New York Giants, they've changed organizations, but they've been at 3 different NFL franchises that started the Giants. So very, very neat, very neat. But why do they play in New Jersey? I don't get that at all. I really don't.
Let me take a guess. It's cheaper.
It's cheaper.
And not only that, in New York, to do anything it's impossible. So if you've ever been out there, you don't want to drive there or even walk there, to be honest with you. It's impossible. So in New Jersey, there's nothing out there. Right across the river, it's just all swamps and a bunch of buried old ex-gangsters. So who has to own that land so nobody finds those bodies? Sopranos. Of course, not the real Sopranos. That's a made-up show, but the Sopranos that they made the show after, those people.
Let me ask you, what's the weakest part of the 49ers and how can they improve it?
Okay. The weakest part. I'm going to have to say it's the wow. Now, what's the weakest part? Well, now it's got to be the O-line. I would have said before the D-backs, but you have 2 amazing defensive ends and serviceable, a plethora of serviceable DTs that just can swap in and out. You could put all 4 DEs on there at the same time. Who cares? Just go Madden and get crazy and just shove. You see, last time they would just rush 3. It was insane. It was like the last play of a prevent defense where there's two DEs and the DT blitzing 5 linemen and still getting in there, like just crazy. That's nasty. That's what I would do. I would just rush the 3 of them. I'd have somebody go back, probably Armstead with his big hands and arms out there, back up into coverage, right? And send one of the linebackers or a cornerback, and just impossible to see this coming and defend. They're just nasty right now. Nasty. And the Seahawks, they weren't great, but the way that we beat them is what made we didn't win by 3, right? We didn't win by 10, 13. It was 24-3 at the half. And then NFL was like, hello, slow this game down, all right? Take it easy. People are falling asleep now. Let's wake them up. And what happened in the third quarter? Revived Seattle. And everyone's all watching, oh my God, we're going to lose. We're going to lose. And then it was just a slow down quarter, right? And the TV was like, all right, get it going again, Niners. Go ahead, finish it. And then they're like, take your hand off little brother's head now and go ahead and let him punch you a few times, right? That's what happened. And it worked, right? And then other creators were like, what happened in the third quarter? We almost blew it and lost. And it's like, no, it wasn't even close, man. It was never close. It was a massacre. And unlike the Indians, all right, somebody stepped in and was like, we're not going to let this happen because it's 2025 or whatever woke times, and we're not going to let somebody just beat up on another team on TV. And also, they better get some turkey or I'm writing a letter, because that's what it's like today.
I don't know if the Niners have this unwritten rule with some teams, or like it's certain nights. It's like, okay, we're gonna only go up this high with our points, and then we're just gonna kind of coast. But you've seen it a couple times where the Niners will get to about 30, and you can see that they can probably still put points up, but they're holding back. And maybe it's because they're trying to be friendly. Maybe it's being a pro, athlete, being a professional, and being a good sportsman. I don't know. I know when the Cowboys put up, the points they put up on us on Dwight Clark's day, I know that really burnt everybody back in 2017. So I know every time the Niners have been playing the Cowboys, we really do like to take it to them, at least with this current organization, this current regime. I know the Cowboys and Niners fans don't like each other for years and years, but that disrespect that they give us back in 2017, I think the team takes that to a certain level. But with other teams, you can see there's somewhat of a respect. Now, I don't think if we play against the Chiefs, we're going to hold back. I don't think we're holding back with the Eagles, but there is something to be said. Like when we know we're up certain points with the Seahawks, believe me, I want to blow the Seahawks. I want to just the Seahawks they're not getting back into the game. First quarter, we got 40 points up on them. I'm loving it. I want more points, but that's not what happens. The Seahawks have been able to do that to us a couple times, and the Niners they're not going to do that in Seattle. The Niners are not going to be able to do that in Seattle. That stadium's just the way it is. The refs.
Well, I think that's what Seattle fans thought too. That couldn't happen. They get crushed like that.
There was a lot of red in the stadium, and I'm definitely thinking it was like a 60-40 percentage of 49er fans, but the refs are not going to let the Niners just totally blow them out. And again, you've seen the Niners kind of take their foot off the brake, if off the gas and put it on the brake. So there was that's just my opinion though, but I love the game, I really do, and I love this team the way they're playing football right now.
Yep.
So
unfortunately, there's no game this week.
Yeah, we don't have
this Sunday.
We don't have a game this week. There are games that others might want to tune into if you are around.
I heard the games are meaningless this week.
Well, the one that we definitely want to listen out for is the Buffalo and Philadelphia game. We want to find out who wins in that game.
Okay, well, I mean, that's going to be Philly, but I would like to believe that the Bills defense can stop them, and that Josh Allen won't throw 3 interceptions, but that's going to be tough for me to swallow. I just don't think so. You want me to call it right now? I assume that the Bills will lose by double digits. Allen will throw 2 interceptions just in the fourth, probably one before that. That's what I think. That's just how he's been all year. And I'm not blaming his team anymore. The guy is just not trying not to throw interceptions. Do you know what I mean? I think he's just tossing them up there now. I don't think he thinks he can win.
I think
how many times this year at the end has he just like given it away? Games that weren't even lost yet. Just, I don't know.
I think he needs to be on another team. I think he's a great quarterback. I think he's got a lot of talent. But
how about the Bears?
He could do really good in the Bears.
I think so too.
Sort of like a Kyle Orton situation. A quarterback comes in with a big arm. Can run a little bit. I think that could work. Maybe the Bills
and it's cold weather.
Maybe the Bills and Buffalo, they do a trade. Fields goes to Buffalo, and
Well, does Fields have 1 year left, or is he gone?
Well,
he came out with Trey, so he's on his 5th, and they re-signed him for the 5th year.
I don't know.
I don't think they did.
I know he tore up his thumb, and why would you want to keep him if you're going to get Allen?
Not me.
Like, you got to let him go. So
I would let him go. Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of revolving positions next year at quarterback. A lot of different teams will be definitely getting somebody different. I imagine the Rams are probably going to be looking for somebody. The Buccaneers possibly could be looking for somebody. Even though Baker Mayfield's not playing completely horrible down there, you have to be able to elevate your team.
You just won the Super Bowl. You really want to go 2 years in a row with Baker?
I mean, unless you're really taking a paycheck, and saving a bunch of money. But do you think fans want to go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Stadium and watch Baker Mayfield play? I mean, I would be like, hey, we just won a Super Bowl. I'm sitting at the house drinking out of my Super Bowl cup.
But not only that, since we just won the Super Bowl, let's get a kid. Let's get a couple kids on here and see how they turn out. We might get lucky.
Yeah. That's when that's when you start going back, so that would be, okay, this is my last question for you for the evening. We get the Super Bowl. If we win the Super Bowl, are we going to be able to hold this team together for another run, or are we rebuilding? I know not everybody's going to rebuild. We got people signed for contracts and stuff, but just assume Eric Armstead, we let walk. We don't re-sign BA. Juice restructures.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Trent Williams walks.
Then well, if we're losing Trent, then we can keep Juice.
He doesn't walk. He retires. But again, just different scenarios here. Do we win a Super Bowl, and are we able to keep these guys together? Would Trent say, "Yeah, let's bring them back"? These are all these are all individual answers, somebody's opinion. But if you think about it, you win a Super Bowl and you're that close with this team and this roster, and we can tell everybody in the locker room we're bringing everybody back. Do we get somebody like Trent Williams to say, I'm coming back for another year? BA, are you happy? You just got paid the bag, or did you get paid enough that you're happy with it?
Well, Trent gets a lot of money if he comes back, right?
Well, he's got one more season.
It's got to be the most amount, right?
Yeah, that makes a good point.
I mean, that's just too much. And I like Trent, but there are 32 other left tackles in the game that I don't hear anybody complaining about. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, do you hear anybody go, man, our LT sucks? No, nobody. It is what it is. It's not an easy position, and nobody rocks it like Trent or even the guy below him. That's just like having Mahomes or having Rodgers. It's not going to happen all the time. These are all just regular, normal guys. They're all pretty good. So I think if Trent leaves, we'll have a lot of money. And if Trent leaves, I'd say definitely let go of Armstead as well. And I like Juwan Jennings, and I know what Juwan Jennings can do and how important he is, but he can't stay here. That's going to be, unless, what is it? Is that his 5th year on a rookie contract?
I believe so. I think
Then I
he
see
took
that I would bring him
it.
back. Because as far as I'm concerned, if we can keep BA and Debo and Jennings, I really don't care who the other two guys are. In that case, we have to try and nail down a kick returner, punt returner, you know, take a shot on two of those guys in the draft, and they could be wide receiver 4 and 5. We also supposedly have people named Danny Gray and Ronnie Bell on our team somewhere, stashed away. There's 4 and 5 already paid for. We already got 2 tight ends in waiting, so no more Werner, no more Dwelly. Finally, we can move on from them and just real light and cheap young guys with raw talent who are going to get molded in the offseason. Should have a ton of money to work with. So I say BA and Chase can stay, but we're going to have to roll very light in other places. And we signed every rookie last year, and we probably will do it again this year. That's 22 guys that are going to be making squat. So we can't make it work with the other guys? I think we can.
So you believe if we win a Super Bowl, we will be able to somehow maintain at least a strong, would it be safe to say at least 75, 80% of this current team for the next season?
Yeah, unfortunately, the people who are leaving are, someone like Trent, which is huge. So the problem is that we should already have his swing tackle replacement waiting to take over his job. The problem is that we don't.
But that would be, again, Trent's really his decision if he doesn't want to run it back. Because
I think even if he wins the Super Bowl, he's not coming back. If he wins that Super Bowl, he's done. He's tired. He's old. He doesn't want to do that crap anymore. Look at Kelsey. Kelsey's on the Chiefs. Who doesn't want to be on the Chiefs? It's like a dream come true. And this guy's like, dude, just let me go home in my sweatpants and watch TV. Like, that's where he is right now, I think. He's done. And he said that in mid-season. It's crazy. He basically said already this in the middle of this season. He's like, dude, I'm ready to retire. It's done.
I agree. The person, like, what would you say? The person, but the fan inside of me would want to say, yes, he's coming back. But the person, like looking out, from the outside perspective would be, you won your ring. You have as much money. You're going to go into the Hall of Fame. What do you really think you're going to win a second ring?
Well, not only that, but once you've been to the mountaintop, do you really care about going again? Some people do, but I just don't think a 37-year-old man will.
Oh boy, wow! I really hope he gets to,
It'd be great if he could come back as a coach the very next season. The problem is that's even more grueling than being a player. The coaches are there like 23 hours a day. It's insane.
Yeah.
So I don't see that happening.
I
think I asked you this last time, or maybe I wanted to. Wouldn't you love to see Joe Montana, Steve Young, Roger Craig, all those guys coaching at the same time? A bunch of young guys?
It would be kind of cool. It really would be. I don't know how well Joe Montana and Steve Young get along. And I don't know
they're not going to be on the same side of the field all the time. And a little of that is good.
That would be great.
Imagine those two going head to head.
Yeah, that would be really kind of cool to see. Getting some other. See, I don't know why they haven't reached out to Jerry Rice and made him a coach yet. Steve Young's always around the facility. I know Jeff Garcia's reached out. He wanted to be the quarterback coach. He's wanted to be the offensive coordinator, but the Niners don't want to. They're not messing with Jeff Garcia too much. So I don't know. I know Frank Gore. It would be nice to see if he could be a. More than just a scout, maybe a head coach. Not a head coach, but a running back coach.
I'm sure a lot of great ex-players would like to be, but are you the senator's nephew, though? Then you can't wipe up that spit on the basketball court unless you're the senator's nephew. You know what I mean? Like those are the people doing that stuff. It's amazing. So yeah, maybe. I mean, not to get back on the tinfoil hats, but I mean, yeah, obviously any of these amazing players who actually played the game, not all coaches, most coaches have played the game. I'm just saying, if not all, but a legend. How do you not want him to be the wide receiver coach? How do you not send him a letter every year to his lawyer or whoever to be like, dude, please reconsider this year? And again, it's because it's a lot of time coaching and stuff, and that might be what it is. I think that that's something for like an older man's game who's very bored and retired and he's done sitting at home. You literally have to like go retire and be bored of retiring and then come back to coaching, I think. Do you know what I mean? I think you just need a long break. And then you're like, you know what? I love football. I'm ready to come back. And then Jerry may be coaching when he's 75 years old. Who knows?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I also would like to throw out there, you look at older players like Jerry Rice who ran that hill. And then you had other players like T.O. and Kevin Barlow who started running after him. And, there was other players before Jerry Rice who was running that. I think Roger Craig was the one who showed him where to run. And I could be wrong, but I believe it was Roger Craig's Hill who first started running that. And you look at the Niners now, and we have all this talent. We have all these players, and maybe they don't have to train like that anymore. But I would be very curious to find out which ones have asked Jerry. Or is that just, common knowledge? Once you become a 49er fan, they got a map inside the locker room. Go to these coordinates and run right here. Because I would think that everybody would want to try to run that hill.
You think the Raiders have asked Jerry Rice to coach?
Show or disclose? Or just ask if he wants to coach? Wow. So I think a whole lot's happened with the Raiders since they've left Oakland, before they left Oakland, Jack Del Rio was their coach. They were doing good. Carr got hurt in the playoffs, but they still were like they're at the pinnacle. They were starting to turn it around. Then they had Cleo Mack. The Raiders were doing good. Then they go ahead and decide, let's fire a head coach. Let's go ahead and hire our former head coach, who Al Davis probably wouldn't be too happy to hear that was being re-signed, but Al Davis was in the ground, so you couldn't say too much, right? Then the Raiders started.
Somebody made a big stink about it, but they didn't have the power that Al had.
So they hire him back, right? And then they start talking about potentially moving to Las Vegas. And Gruden wasn't too happy about it, but he's already been signed to 10 years, so they're going to make the push, right? Then when they come this way, what happened? Gruden got exposed by the NFL. You're going to tell me Gruden's emails are the only emails that are exposed or out there for people to read? He was the only one who said something negative or ugly about,
What a strange time for these emails to pop up.
Really, 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 really strange time. And, because again, he had went after Roger Goodell. I believe Roger Goodell said, hey, you mentioned me several times in these emails and what you think about me. I'm going to show you. I don't think you should be in the NFL anymore.
Those are private emails, though.
Private.
You're not supposed to hear that stuff. So don't think your own relatives don't talk behind your back and things. I mean, it's just what it is. They don't want you to hear it. Nobody wants feelings to be hurt. And then you're getting punished. Like if somebody listened in on this is what I'm talking about, Brian. That's what I'm talking about. They listened in. They had that as ammunition. They put that in a file, an extortion file. It's in a huge computer somewhere, and then when the time comes and it's like, this guy's giving us problems, and it's like, go to the files. Here, there's this, and there's this, and then there's this picture, and then there's this picture of him inappropriately touching a young lady, even though she didn't say anything about it, but it looks like it, right? So
yep.
That's all you need. Or hey, Photoshop it.
You're gonna tell me
the difference anymore.
You're gonna tell me that he's the only head coach that was standing next to another owner, next to some cheerleaders that didn't have tops on. Okay, first off, those women had a decision to make if they wanted to continue to be employed there or move somewhere else. Hey, everybody has their decisions that they make in life, whether it's right or wrong. But to take your top off and get paid money to do that, and to have a picture taken by somebody, who's just as famous as, probably one of the most famous people you've been in a room with. And it's supposed to be a private party. Who took the damn pictures? That dude needs to get punched in the face. Who's exposing this was a private party, right? I'm not saying what happens, but when you go to a party, you don't tell people what's happening, right? That's how you don't get invited back.
That's
how
why
you
he went to Vegas, because what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
boom. And he thought it was going to be all in the past. And no, they pulled it out and they showed his skeletons. And then next thing you know, he's got a lawsuit. And what happened this season? His quarterback, Derek Carr, who still speaks very highly of him and says he's one of the guys who got my career turned back around for me. Even though Jack Del Rio got him to the playoffs, it's just a different mindset, different culture, different friend. Maybe he likes Jack Del Rio really well too. But Gruden was in New Orleans training Carr, working with the Saints. That close to be either signed or whatnot to a NFL contract of being another coach, and whatever happened fell through. He still has his lawsuit going now. You're going to tell me that the NFL is not going to settle with him, or they're going to want him to go to court? They don't want him to go to court. And now I read today, now he's talking about going back to college and playing, coaching for a college team. So the NFL might be very mighty, very big. They can shut you down. They're probably listening here, and we might not be back next week. I'm sorry, folks. I really do appreciate
very possible.
Yeah, but if we are back next time, we will be talking maybe a little bit more positive about the NFL. Maybe we'll have to thank our lucky stars that we're still here. But it just doesn't make any sense. It's like me and you privately talking or talking right here where everybody can hear us, and then you using this. We're talking as friends.
It's like if we said something about Armstead and then some knock came at your door, you opened it and he punched you out.
It's a public-private conversation, but it's not. I'm not trying to directly say it to you, Mr. Armstead. I'm not trying to directly say it to you, Mr. Roger Goodell. We're talking right here. So yeah, if you were to talk to me face to face, I might tell you that's how I feel. But I might not, and I might be able to get through a couple words with you and walk away feeling a little bit better about the situation and not have to feel that way that me and you right now currently are discussing. And again, sometimes when you just are able to blow off some steam and say something about somebody and make somebody laugh a little bit, and maybe you laugh a little bit about it too. No, racist jokes aren't funny. To an extent, they're funny, but then they're not funny, right? It's like, that hurt. That's not
of
very
course,
funny.
Of course.
It's like watching a little kid run and fall, right? It's kind of funny when you see the little kid fall, but when that little kid starts screaming, right, then it's not funny anymore. Or, imagining anybody, oh man, that guy fell, the skateboarder just tripped, he messed up on his trick. That's funny, right? Well, it's not when you see the person get hurt. It's not when you're trying to do it. And especially when you're trying to do it, then you're like, karma, or you're, why is it this hard? Because life is hard. And, it just kind of is. And that's why when you do see somebody have some type of success, you want to, give them a pat on the back, give them a good, a thumbs up, tell them, continue to keep grinding, instead of putting them down in the ground. And I think that's what the Niners right now are doing, is they're embracing each other. They're picking everybody up. I think they're trying to get CMC that touchdown record. I think they fell short of it, but they weren't disappointed in it because they seen how many other people were able to score.
Tying it is pretty classy, right?
Yeah.
There have been athletes in the past who have declined to break records because they respected that hero that was their hero so much that they didn't want to pass him. So they stayed. They held where they were. Now I think that's kind of silly, because I think that they would be happy for you if you broke their record. But I also think it's very humble and classy for you to decline being the best. Just knowing you're the best is enough.
Yeah. And I could totally see that mentality. Like CM said, he knew he could score early in the game. They knew they could have gotten him a touchdown, but instead they used everybody else in the game. Everybody else was able to score. They took the W, and guess what?
I think they were trying to break it, but I think it just wound up coming off like kind of classy. Like
I think they're trying to break it at the end. I think they weren't.
Okay, yeah, for sure, yeah, because it didn't seem like it was a main priority in the beginning at all. I never saw it like that. They were trying to force it in there at all.
And that's what I loved about it, because it was like the rest of the team is finally getting to like eat,
You think
whatever.
Maybe they used that?
I think they did.
They're trying to break this guy's record, Brian. So let's keep This is the guy we got to cover. Smother
Yep.
this guy. Swarm. Remember Swarm?
Yep.
That hasn't worked for anybody. Swarm hasn't worked. Whoever makes T-shirts, Swarm shirts. We need them. They're
You
funny.
you allow the rest of the offense to open up because they're focusing on one guy, and then next thing you know, what happens? The next game comes, you're not focusing so much on that one guy. He starts scoring touchdowns again.
The air show started.
Kenny, let's get back together here real soon. Thank you so much for coming through. Everybody in the chat watching, who we got a lot of people in and out of the chat. Appreciate you guys. Remember, it's tinfoil hat when you see the two of us, and throw your conspiracies in the chat. We will come back. Hopefully, either be able to discuss them at a lower time, or maybe we'll
talk some Eagles next week.
It's gonna be a very interesting game. I definitely want to get your opinion on that game for sure, because everybody's going to be talking. That's probably going to be the talk for this week and potentially maybe the rest of the season. The winner of that game might define the playoffs. It definitely should, huh?
Well, remember what I said. I'd rather lose this one, win the next one. I think it's going to be really hard to win both. That's all I'm saying. And no one is going to bat an eyelash if we lose to them because they already think they're the best team. We could fly in under the radar like, yeah, they're better than us. They're way better than us. We stink. Boo Niners. And then they see us again and we pummel them.
Do you think there's a possibility?
Pummel them at home.
Do you think there's a possibility that we get the first seed and we don't play them at all?
Well, it's very possible if we are the 2 seed, right? We'll either play probably Minnesota or Seattle at this point. I think that's what it looks like, right? And we could likely demolish those teams, even though we lost to Minnesota. We should beat those teams, right? And then they just lose to round 1. Who knows? That's how football is. It's real weird. Something can happen. Look, maybe Hurts just gets hurt. Maybe he just gets hurt for a half a quarter or a quarter, but that's maybe all it takes. That's the momentum that you see on the other side of the field, and you're like, dude, their best guy is down. Let's go full force now.
We will have to get more into that because I definitely could see a scenario where we might not even see the Eagles in a playoff matchup this season. But again, folks, come back. We'll be back here real soon. Hey, Boss Quest, late night. Yeah, we're having a little bit of fun. We got to go back and check out the show. We got a little creative real quick. If you didn't notice, we got tinfoil hats now. Yeah. So, tune back in with us and we will see you guys next time. And everybody enjoy the game tomorrow. There's going to be a couple games definitely tune into. And if you still got turkey, enjoy it. We still got turkey at the house. So it's going to be probably going to be something I'll be snacking on during games tomorrow. But again, Kenny, thank you for coming, and everybody. See you guys later.